How did we go from this to this? Or, in other words, can young lions vlog? Well, it's not going to be a vlog, is it? It's going to be more like a recap. Yeah, let's call it a recap. All right, so welcome. My name is Mate, and this year, along with my partner, we competed in the Young Lions competition in Cannes, and we were lucky enough to bring home a bronze medal in the film category, which is very exciting. In the weeks leading up to Cannes Lions, I had thought about making a vlog about the whole experience, but ultimately I decided not to do it because when we arrived in Cannes, I just felt like it's not such a great idea. It would probably be difficult to juggle both shooting a vlog and the actual film submission for the competition. So yeah, I just decided not to do it. But then I got back to Hungary and I had this lingering feeling of maybe something's missing. And it took me a while to understand that what's missing is something like this. So this video is going to be my attempt at recapping sort of our personal experience with the festival and with the competition specifically. If you're trying to compete next year or any other year in the future, hopefully this video will find you and you will find it useful and beneficial to get you prepared, because it is a big thing. So yeah, we should talk about it. All right, so chapter number 1 is called Preparations Begin as Soon as You Qualify. As I'm sure you guys know, in order for you to compete in the international competition, you first need to win your own country's local competition. That's like the preliminary round. And if you win your category, that essentially gives you the opportunity to compete in Cannes on the big international stage against all the other teams that have won their own preliminary competitions. So if you've made it to Cannes, that's already a huge achievement in and of itself, and you should be very proud because it means that in your country in that specific year, you were the best. When it comes to Cannes, of course, it's a much bigger, much more challenging experience, and we wanted to be prepared. So as soon as we qualified, we set our eyes on the international competition, and I just want to share with you one thing that we did that I think is quite interesting and possibly something that is unprecedented and that not a lot of other teams have done in the past, and maybe you should. I don't know. You decide for yourself. So here's what we did. We realized that in Hungary, the Young Lions competition is kind of like a big deal. There's like a separate website that they created for the briefs, submissions, shortlists, results, and the archive. So you can find all the submissions and all the winning works from preceding years on that website. But that got us to thinking, if Hungary does this, then maybe other countries do it as well. And believe it or not, they do. So we found a lot of them. We even organized them into like this gigantic Google sheet, which I will put on the screen here so you can see it for yourself. And we just basically knew who we were up against. All right, so now that I'm editing the video, I realized that I forgot to mention the single most important part here, which is, of course, why did we do this? What's the point? Why go through all this trouble? So here's the answer to that question. When you decide to compete in Young Lions, everyone around you is going to be telling you that the best thing you can do to prepare, if you want to prepare, is to browse winning works from previous years. And I do think that is legitimately good advice, because if you do this a lot, you will develop this acute sense or this acute feeling for what separates award-winning works from the rest of them, really. Obviously, this is also something that comes with experience, but we don't have a lot of experience, so we knew we wanted to speed things up a bit, and this is a really good way of doing that. So yeah, I think this is good advice. But if you think about it, there's not a whole lot of stuff that you can look at. Depending on where you live, you might have your own country's Young Lions archive. We do have that in Hungary. So when we were preparing for the local competition, we obviously watched all of those. And I think we also took a look at the international winners, because those are always uploaded to the Love the Work website and you can access them for free at any time. So that was our entire preparation for the local competition. And then when it came to Cannes, we knew we wanted to do more. And you know, there's really no definitive way of knowing whether this contributed to our success or not. I certainly think it did, because it made us quicker and faster at discarding not so great ideas and recognizing ideas that have that pizzazz, that have that potential maybe. And if you think about it, that's the single most important thing with these competitions. Your biggest enemy is not the other teams, it's time. This competition is literally a race against the clock. So if you can become just a little bit faster when it comes to brainstorming, if you can become just a bit more efficient when it comes to discarding the not so great ideas and recognizing the potentially good ones a bit quicker, that will save you a lot of time that you would otherwise be spending trying to decide which ideas to throw away and which ideas to focus all your efforts on and craft. So yeah, I think this is huge, and I think it's something you should do. All right, chapter number 2, the brief. So for us, the brief was actually drowning prevention, which is a very serious topic. But luckily for us, the brief asked for a more light-hearted take on this. So we were explicitly forbidden from using graphic portrayals of people drowning. That's not the kind of film that you had to make. You had to be creative and come up with something else. And, it was just shocking to read about this. There are 300,000 people, if I recall correctly, dying each year from drowning. That is like a shocking number to me. And I think the first time I read the brief and I saw that number, I was like, that must be a typo, right? There's just no way that's true. But then that number kept coming back in the brief, and then when we had the oral briefing, they also said it. So that's when we realized that is the actual number. All right, chapter number 3, committing to an idea. Arguably, the single most difficult thing about these competitions is that you have to narrow down your ideas to just one idea, and then you have to commit to it, and you have to craft it, and then you have to submit it and have faith in it. This takes enormous courage, and I cannot emphasize enough just how much it takes to do this. While we were in Cannes, we talked to a bunch of other competitors, and participating teams were really angry with themselves because they also thought of the idea that ultimately made the shortlist or maybe even won a medal. And they were saying things like, oh, we thought of that as well, we just didn't end up doing it. Or, we thought it was too simple. And, yeah, it happens. I think when you have a brief and you've got only 24 hours to work on it, or in our case, 48 hours, it's very difficult to approach it from like a very groundbreaking perspective. So possibly what you thought about, some other team also thought about, but it's not really about who thought of the idea. It's about who had the courage to actually execute it and do it. Chapter number 4, feelings after submitting the work. One question that kept coming up from other teams and from people in Hungary is whether we knew that we were going to make the shortlist or whether we knew that what we made was like really good. It's very difficult to answer that question. On the one hand, yes, we liked what we made. On the other hand, you always have that little voice inside your head that's telling you it's not going to be good enough, or that other people came up with something better. Remember, this is not a competition of good ideas, it's a competition of the best ideas. So it can happen that you made something really good, but then there were just so many teams that made something even better, and you don't get a shortlist or you don't get top 3. So it's not about just having a good idea, it's also about having that specific idea be better than the rest of the ideas. It's kind of a complicated way of saying it's a competition, right? But yeah, we really loved what we ended up with, and the only thing that was kind of like promising is that in the past, usually when we liked what we submitted, that was a good sign. So in Hungary, with the local round, we submitted a bunch of stuff, because in Hungary there's no restriction on how many things you can submit. So we submitted 3 films and a digital idea, and 2 films out of the 3 made it to the shortlist. 1 ended up winning, the other one got a silver, and our digital idea got a silver as well. So we liked all of those, and the fact that we liked them has been a good sign so far in our competition journey. So that's the only thing that we had going on, that we liked what we made, and that got us excited. But we didn't know. Beyond that, we just had no clue whatsoever. And now chapter number 5, the results, the award ceremony, to see the enjoyment, the enthusiasm that is packed into that, the Busti Theatre, is amazing. I think the Young Lions competition really, truly is the place where you can find the best creativity. And I know that's a hot take for Cannes Lions, where we reward the best of the best creative work, but trust me, there's a different atmosphere in a Young Lions competition area or in the Young Lions award show. At least something that for me personally was unprecedented. In Hungary, it's a big deal, but we've got like maybe 70, 80 teams, and here you've got 400 teams. So it's like a completely different scale, it's a completely different experience. and to see that, to experience that firsthand was amazing. So yeah, ultimately we came home with a bronze medal in the film category. I will link our film in the description on the Love the Work website, and then you can watch it. I recommend that if you are interested in Young Lions, do take a look at all of the films, do take a look at all the categories and decide which best suits you. And if you want a part 2 where we can maybe do a deep dive into the film and print categories, print because the brief for the print category was the same as it was for the film category, then I would be more than happy to do one. But first, let's get this video out and let's see the response. So thank you for sticking around. I hope this video gave you some insight into the ins and outs of the Young Lions competition. If you want a part 2, let me know in the comments, or in any other way. I can be reached in many ways on social media. So yeah, thank you and cheers.